start recording. Okay. So like last time, what we have done is we have done few things in here. Especially we talked about several components, like how we can create functions, especially composable functions, which represent a UI. So we talked about layouts, different layouts, how we can use those things, and how we can work on that. Also, we talked about some things with the preview. Okay, so we talked about preview, how we can have two previews, for which one for one with dark mode, another one with this light mode. So you guys get the idea of how we can get it done. And next thing that I would do is we would continue down this path and add more things to our learning sections, and especially when we are looking at composables, what we need to make sure is that we stick with what we have in here, the UI library. Right now we are sticking with material design. Okay, it's, and remember, it is not limited to stick everything to material design. Of course, you can have another design system of your choice, but it's not like easy to find some other stuff that you will come across, especially when it is coming to the styling, all the buttons and uniformity. Everything is like will be slightly easier when you're using material design. So it's up to you. If you really don't need, if you need something like to create some more interesting thing, of course you can do that. But then again, it's up to you to decide what UI library that you can use, and we'll see how these things will go on. Okay. All right. The next thing that I would like to do, we would work with some things from our application with related to sorry, with related to some of the most common UI patterns, like a list view. Okay, so list views are like highly used in mobile applications. The use case behind that is most of the time when we work with UI integrations, list views are most common thing that you will see. Okay, so we will look at list views, how we can work around those things, and how we can implement those things in very simple manner. Okay, so if you guys really need to look into the XML based list views, of course I have also already mentioned this. You can take a look at the older version or the previous version of the same course number that is available. You can look at that and it will explain how we can do these things in something like in XML based. Okay, right now what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna touch anything with XML, but but we will look into more of a Jetpack Compose related things only within the. Okay, so as you guys can remember, we have things like these modifiers that we have used in terms of the theme. Let me try to zoom in so you guys can see better. So set content is like the basic method that we need, that we set the things. Okay, and next thing that I would do is use something like um, uh, rather than having this intro page. As you can see, the intro page is a separate function where we can clearly see what we are working with. What we'll do is we will first look at list views, and perhaps I would be going with some grid views as well. So what I'll do is rather than working with the intro page, I would create another Kotlin file so I can make it easy. So I'll create a Kotlin file named let's say game list. Okay, so it's going to be a game list. I just name it as that. You can name it however you want, but in this scenario, I'll just name it game list. So I'll be listing out few of the games that that I have found. Okay. So first thing, I need to create a composable like we did last time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function called game list. Okay. And make sure once you have defined the functions to make it a composable function, I have to annotate the um, annotate the function as a composable function. Okay, so I'll take the game list in here. So if I want to preview, you guys know the drill. Same thing like we did last time. We had to create a preview section and have this thing as the same like we did in here. Okay, so I'm gonna call it not intro page view. I'm gonna say game list preview. Okay, so I'll be using the theme. It's the same thing that we're gonna use, and I will have the game list as the composable. Okay, so now I will go to the split view, right? So I need to do a build before I do the preview. So I'll do a refresh and build. Sometimes this happens because where for the first time the preview will not work as expected. So in order to do that, we need to build it. Now you guys can see it's just emptying out. So we will take things in here and try to work it. Okay, so when we are working with Jetpack Compose, we will be using something called list. Okay, so the list is like what we will be seeing in this section. So in order to create a list, what I'll do first, is so my intention is to show a list of games, right? So my intention to show game. So few things that I need to do. I need to model this game list. Okay, especially I need to model one single item. Okay, that's how we're going to look, because within a list you will find similar items listing down. So you won't be seeing different items in a list most of the time. 99% of the time the content of a list will be repeated along. Okay, so the content will be repeated along, but a preview of one single row, one single column is always going to be the same, consistent. So in this scenario, I will be creating a model. Okay, a model in this section. So I can create that in a different file, but for demonstration purpose I would be creating within this. But if you find yourself it's better you can always create a new package. I would normally call these things as models. Okay, and within the model you can create a new Kotlin class file. I would call this as a game. Okay, and it you can easily create even a data class from here. uh, Data class are like um, data class is like really easy to without a constructor you can create these models. Most of the time when you are working with models, you will find data classes. Okay, so within the data class I will have things like what a game should have. Normally a game should have a name, and it's going to be a type of string. Okay, and another thing that I need to model is it's going to have let's say a description. Okay, a small description about the game itself. Oops, description, and it's going to be in type string as well. Okay, and maybe I need an image. It's going to be an image URL, and it's going to be type of string as well. So I have modeled my game. Remember, this is not going to be the whole model, but I'm trying to come up with one single item. So this is the model. This is not even the UI, but it is like the basic basic model. When I'm talking about a game should have these kind of things, maybe an ID or something like that. Right now I'm going to stick with these basic things. Okay, so we have a model. Okay, this is, as I mentioned, this is not the UI itself. We need to create something something out of something out of these things to show one single game. Okay, I will first I will have something like one single implementation, like a game raw. Then we will see how we can repeat that once, how we can repeat those things. Okay, so first thing first, I will define a game view. Okay, a simple game model. So I can go to the game list, or I can create another package. Okay, this is like the way you organize it. It's up to you. There are like other architectural patterns which we will not discuss within this course, but on the next course content, the advanced section, we will be talking about the architectural pattern, how we can better organize these things. But right now, what I'll do is I will create something like um, UI dot components. Okay, so we have something like theme, and we have UI components. So these components will be like the small chunks or small sections of our code. Okay, so I want to model a game, so I'm gonna call this as another Kotlin file. I will call this, since this is going to be a game, one single row, I will call this one as a game row. Okay, so it's going to be easy for us to just have a game row, uh, one single game row. So I'm going to create another function in here, and I will call it as a game row. And remember, this should be a composable. And one thing that I'm going to do when I am creating a game row, I will pass a game. Okay, that is the same game that we modeled earlier on. Okay, so game row is not going to be a simple it's not going to be something like what we call um, empty composable. But in order to show a game row, in order to work with a game row, we need to give a game. Okay, we'll see this in action, how this is going to be used, but for now we'll just stick with this. Okay, so I'm gonna create a game row preview, and I will make it as preview as well. Okay. Oops. So like what we did in here. So we either we need to show the background, we need to provide those things as well. What I'm missing. Okay, I think I had to give the things as well. I'm gonna say game row. Okay, so when I am creating a game row, I need to pass a game, right? Otherwise this won't work. So earlier on we did not had such a problem. We had only the Mid-video theme. If you can go with the mid-video theme, and you can say game row in here. But right now it needs a game, because we have defined in here. Okay, if you want to show a game, you have to provide the details, you provide the model of that game, otherwise we won't be able to show. So in here we can since this is the preview version, I can create a game. I would call this as game, and it's going to be in type game, and I can provide all the information with regarding that. Okay, so it will say, okay, type is mismatching, you are trying to create a game, but you are not giving all the information that I need. Okay, so we will create a game simply by providing parameters over the constructor. So I am creating a game, but the game is requiring me to provide some missing function. So you can say there are like parameters like what I need to give. So you guys can see, when I'm creating a game, I need to give a name, a description, and an image URL. All are in string. So I will give a sample game, a name, and a description, and an image URL. So when everything is provided, this is called a game. And since this is not in use, I can give a val in here. And okay, so I don't need this one in here since it is a preview. So I have a game, and I have provided the name. I need to provide description. I have to provide an email. So I need to give these details in order to render these things out. Okay. So the name that I'm gonna give is, let's say, right now these days I am playing a game. I'm not sure if you guys are playing as well. Assassin's Creed. Okay, so this is the game that I recently played in one. I'm not sure if you guys have played this or not, but I love this series, so I have played around it, and I'll get some information out of Google just to make it simple. So the name and description. Let me try to find an image for that as well. Okay, I think I have a decent image. Not sure whether it is going to be copyrighted, but I'm going to just grab it for demonstration purpose. Let me get a copy image address. I hope there is. It's like a very simple image. I hope there are no copyright violation. I'm gonna remove it anyhow. So I have modeled a game that is the name and the description and the image URL that I want. Okay. So when I'm creating such a variable, this is like a one single row. Okay. If I want to show one single row, this is how it's gonna go. But right now I am showing this game row, but nothing's to be shown in here. So the basic thing that I can do is I can have something like a text. Okay, and I can get the game name out of this, so it will be shown like this. So you guys can see um, on the preview side, I can see Assassin's Creed Mirage in here. Okay, and say for instance, I want to show the description, and I can say okay, which is coming from the description itself. So when I pass the game in here, it is showing the it is passing a game like what I have done in here, and it is showing it is passing the same game to this composable function, and this composable function is showing the things out of this game.name and game.description. And if I want to show an image, I can do that as well. So let me take an image. Okay, so I need to give the paint. Okay, how the paint options that I need to provide. So let me get back image element. Okay, so in here, what I need to do is I need to point the painter resources. Okay, so what is the um, image that we will be using in, and the context description, it is like the description for the image. I will just simply give the game dot name as a context description, but if you have any other description, you can also give that. Right now I'm going to give name. So the painter is most of the time is expecting what we call an image resource. Okay, so how are we gonna come up with something like that? So jetpack compose L. So normally when we are working with normally when we are working with application, we can use something like painter resource. Okay, so this is pointing to a resources file within our application. You guys can remember we have a separate section in here that is drawables, which contains these images and all the icons that might need. Okay, we can have those we can refer images from there using the painter resource, and we have to give the resource ID. So we will be using something called r dot drawables, and we have to give an ID in here. Right now I think I don't have any drawable other than these XML files. I can create a new drawable image asset, something like this. I would just use these use this one as well. Just give me a second. I will just say Android asset type. It's going to be an image. It's going to be in here. Let me hit next. So I can like create dummy assets. Let me show how we did it once again. So I can use, right now there are no ones that I have used. So I will right click on the drawables, go to new, and I will go in here called the image assets. Okay, I can create a dummy assets from here. So we have like assets like text, clip arts, or something like that. We have images that we can use. We can actually navigate other XML based ones to like XML resource to create an image. Okay, I'm using this XML. If you want, if you can actually have another XML or a PNG file, whatever that you guys need to work with. So name, I will just say Android. Okay, you can give whatever name that you like and hit next, and it will ask what is the um, what is the um, what is the application that we're going to use. It's going to create Android background and Android icons in different locations. Okay, so these are going to be the icons that we're going to create. Now if I hit finish, and it will create a new icon set. Okay, so in here, so we will create our dot drawable, and you can see that I have IC icon, IC launcher. So unfortunately, it is not giving me the autocomplete. Normally, these things will be given to me, but it is not giving anything for me. Okay, I'll show you why it is happening and how we can get rid of that. So as we were talking, we were trying to get a resource in here, right? We were trying to get a resource to be shown. So the painter resource, it is not showing in here. So what we're gonna do is we will try to import from R. So this R file, I need to like give you guys an context on this. So R is a reference to whatever the files that we are creating in here. Okay, so R represent a resource file, and remember, whenever we add a file into the resource directory, we can actually take a reference from a generated code. Okay, so if I add a drawable in here mentioning IC launcher icon, then Android is smart enough to create an R resource reference to that file. So the main idea behind the R or resource files is that we do not need to hard code these resources variables by heart. Okay, so if I want this XML file to be working with, or I want image to be referred with, so how I'm going to do that is I am going to drag and drop, or as I mentioned, as I showed earlier, I will create an image assets, and once that image asset is created, I will get a reference to that drawable. Okay, so that is created with the R file generated in here. So R, make sure the R file that we are in is from the package we are in. Okay, so you guys can see the drawable is shown as soon as I type R, and it is coming from IO Hrandika buyer .r. Okay, so you guys can see that our file is not in here, right? There is no such a class in here like that. But remember, under the hood, we are getting, or we are having a generated R file that map all these resources to a Kotlin class. Okay, so we have this drawable, and normally it should come with the drawable name in here, especially since I'm not sure whether it's the name. Normally it should come. Let me double check. IC underscore launcher. IC underscore launcher. So it is not showing in here because R is not important. I will select, if I hover over this, and it will show unresolved reference, import class R. Okay. So now it is important. Remember, when you are importing this R file, make sure that is the correct package that we are in, because there are a lot of R files on other projects within the Android system itself. So make sure to import the correct R file. Okay, that is like the most of the time that we are getting. So now you guys can see we get a lot of um, auto completion helps so that these things can be used. For instance, I see these launch icon background. Okay, so the game preview that we had, you guys can see we are having that green little thing over here. Okay, so remember, that is one important message that I want to give you. The paint resources, okay, which we are taking things from resources side, and it need an ID that is coming from R. Remember, the R is referring to these resources and drawable. Make sure to import the correct R file, otherwise the mapping would not work and it is not the file that we are expecting. Okay, lots of the time, even I got lost for a couple of days when I'm learning Android by not selecting the correct R file. Okay, resources file. Okay, so we got our image, but it seems to be it is not the way I want. I just want the image on the left side and the text on the right side, and the text should be one after another. Okay, clearly this is not the one I am expecting. So what I need to do is I need to make sure these things are in proper layouts. So I will create a layout first, the row. I would have the image in here. That makes sense. And within the row, I will have, did I copy something else? I think I missed this too. And I will have a column within the row, which would come up something like this. Yeah, it's pretty much close, but I need to adjust some uh, font details in here. So what I do is I will simply reduce the font size in here. So I can say size or font size, text font size. I will use like 12.sp. I need to import SP as well. So you guys can see I can click on this and hit the import. 12 SPs. Will it work? Let me try to get the preview. Yeah, it's kind of good, but the line space is little bit high. Let me try to get the letter spacing to 1. SP maybe. Even that is too much. Maybe 0.5. 1. Sorry, it is letter spacing. I want line. Clearly the line spacing is not there. Okay, you guys get the point. I'm trying to like reduce the line spacing, but for now I will just go with something very small. And yes, I know this is not the like the best UI that you will see. You can figure out those things later on, okay, to have a nicer view. Of course, you can always edit the column and have margins or alignments in here, but I'm just gonna go with the default ones in here. So it's just, it's not that ugly, but it's get the job done. So we have a text and we have this one single line, and we have an image. So if I were to show a one single row, the row would look like something this. Okay, the row would look something like this. Of course, as I mentioned, it's not like the best UI you will see, but it gets the job done. Okay, so one thing we talk about the resources, that is great. But in my requirement, in this requirement, what would happen is I do not want to show the launch icon, right? This is not my intention. I have an image URL that is in here. I need to show that image URL rather than showing a predefined paint resource, okay? Because when I am trying to show Assassin's Creed Mirage, I don't want this green thing to be showing up. I need the exact image that I have given within the game model. I need that to be shown. Okay. So in order to show some things like that, okay. Sorry. Um, so in order to do something like that, what we can do. So we need to remove the paint resource. We don't need that, or we can use something that is pre-built in. In Jetpack Compose, you have the option to show an image by default, something like using the image composable. But out of the box, it doesn't support uh, images from internet. Okay, you don't get to show images from internet just like that. Okay, so how do we gonna solve that? The problem is I need this, and I can't. I don't have such functionality built into Compose or Android. Okay, so luckily, the another concept kick in that it will help with the development. So that is using third-party libraries. Okay, let's see how we can use a third-party library on this occasion. So first thing that we need to do is we need to find the third-party library that supports image loading. Okay, we need to have some sort of library that say, okay, if you give me the URL like this, if you give me the URL, I will fetch that information and then I'll show it in an image view or image composer. So the thing is, how do we find such a thing? So the easiest thing is to go with the Google Android developer documentation. They might suggest you something like that, or basically you can Google it. Or nowadays students are even smarter. They chat GTP it. Okay. However, you guys need to find a way that you can incorporate an image to this. Okay, image from the not from the drawables, but from the internet. A URL, when the URL is given, you have to show it. So the easiest thing is to find a library. A library that I know is there are several options. I would use something like um, uh, application like library like Glide. Okay, Glide is like used in most of the times, so you guys can use that in here within the application, but it's like in beta right now, but it get the work done. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you are finding difficult to work with glide, of course you can use something like coil or something that is, that is more useful. All right. Okay. Um, how we gonna introduce a third-party library into our application? Okay, so that is one other thing that I need to demonstrate. So you guys can remember we have things in our application called the build or the mm, build tools. Okay, so within using the build tools, what we can do is we can incorporate these third-party libraries. Okay, so I need to incorporate the uh, preview into my bio application. Into my bio application. Sorry, I need to incorporate this one is into my bio application. So in this scenario, I need to get the correct Gradle file. Okay. So the correct Gradle file in this scenario is, you can see the build.gradle.kts for the bio module. Okay. Make sure you do not add these things in different projects or different modules and see whether it is not working. So make sure the correct project that you want to apply, go into that section and you would find the dependencies. Okay. So you guys can remember, we talked in detail about these dependencies, test dependencies, and implementation. Since this is going to be something that we need when we are running the application, what we'll do is we will add it as an implementation. Okay, because this is going to be something that we need throughout the application. So the next thing is I need to find the library uh, definition, something like this. Probably you will find something like this, implementation and the URL. So this is going to be the glide uh, um, the glide implementation or glide library definition that we need to incorporate. So most of the time you will see something like this. This is in Gradle without using Kotlin. But since we are using Gradle with Kotlin, KTS format, we need to implement like this. So we need to have braces around here. That way we know it is that is correctly imported or implemented within the dependency section. So now we have added the glide library within our application. Now what we need to do is make sure once this is added, we need to sync the libraries. Okay, so there's a sync now button on there. Once you click on the sync now button, what Android Studio and Gradle would do is get the latest version. You guys can see on the bottom, it is downloading all the necessary files in order to incorporate glide within our application. Okay, so it might take some time depending on your internet connection. But you do not want to worry about all the dependencies that glide is on, because Gradle will automatically do that for you. Okay, so it is around like 3 megabytes as I can see. So, and remember, when you are using such libraries, sometimes you would need things things like um, you would need to think some things like the size. Okay, there might be a good alternative solution, or there might be a much more faster way that image can be loaded. Okay, rather than depending on a whole library. Sometimes you might find a smaller code implementation of yourself can be managed to get as a workaround. But if you do not have such a knowledge, or maybe you can tolerate the increasing of the size with the application, let's go ahead and add. Okay, and remember, when you are adding these things, always um, check for the libraries licensing system, whether they are commercially support or they have restrictions. Make sure to read on those things as well. Since this is a demonstration, I'm not going to be like worried on that much, but if you are trying to um, monetize this, make sure you have good idea about the libraries that you are using and whether they allow monetization, whether you need to buy some sort of special permissions, that kind of thing. Make sure to check those things out as well. Okay, but for now, I'm just gonna get the glide compose version around here. Okay, and sometimes make sure um, uh, there are some libraries which are not Jetpack composable. Okay, some libraries are there. Yes, it will say in general Android it will be able to download, but most of the time it will be not compose compatible, Jetpack compose compatible. So make sure uh, the um, the library that we are using is Jetpack Compose compatible. Okay. So yeah, so we know how to include a third-party dependency. Like in this scenario, we introduce glide. So we will be incorporating other things as well. So we can use glide within our dependency section. So it will be available in the application. So by looking at the documentation, glide gives us a sample code where we can show image. Okay, rather than using this image, glide will have something like this: glide image and the image URL and the content description that we need to give. Okay, I'll give the content description as the name of the description, and the URL as game.image URL, and I need to import glide in this scenario. Make sure you have completed the dependency synchronization, otherwise this won't suggest this implementation. So you need to either you can click on this red bubble that pops up, or you can click in my case the option key and enter key both together will import the glide image into my section. Okay, import. Let me check. I don't need image and resource fire. What else is missing? Glide image, glide compose integration is experimental without warning. Okay, so there is a slight warning saying that, okay, glide is still beta. You guys can remember it's saying beta 0.1. It might change in the future, so use it on your risk. Okay, so we have to opt in. We have to put annotation saying that I know it's gonna change in future. If something happens, I'll make sure this will change in the future as well. Okay, uh, just ignoring the error message by adding this. Okay, if it does not come, all you have to do is you have to hover over, and you guys can see opt-in for experimental, like click on that and it will go over. Okay, so if I go to preview, again, seems to be out of date. You guys can see the preview is no longer working. So I will just reload in here. Let's see whether it helps. Up to date. Still the image is not visible for me. Let me try Sometimes these things will not work as expected. So what I'm gonna do, let me check. Are there any other modifiers that I need to do? Let me, I think it won't work either in here as well, because I'm just running out. Let me run the application and see whether it's gonna change in here, especially with the preview, because this is a newly added library. Sometimes it might take a little bit time to show on. Of course, it is not going to show in here because I haven't added it to the main view, but let me do that right now. So I have the main activity. So rather than showing the intro page, I would say I will show game row. Okay, but I need to provide the game. So what I'm gonna do is I can take the game row description that I have put in the preview, and I'm gonna take that and provide this as a game. Okay, let me restart. So right now with the Meridio, I have put the game view in here. Still I do not see the image. I suppose the preview is doing as it says. So I'm gonna revert back in here. Okay, I will close the emulator. I'll go to the game row. Okay, so there might be a couple of things that I have missed. Let's see what are those. I think I might need some additional things to show in here. Oh, it is not showing for a reason. Okay, one thing for sure I know that Locket might have some information regarding this. Okay, I'll close this so you guys can see. I see some information in here, but it is like too much information. It's already showing me a lot of things. So let me try to narrow these things down so it will make more sense. Let me clear the logcat, and do I get some information? Still the I think the filter is not giving me so much. Okay, so still the logcat, I can even like run the emulator and see there is like, if I restart, let me see what I can get. Sorry, what I did was I undo the section. Let me redo. Okay, I will run it once again and I will have logcat open. Okay, so okay, now you guys can see there is an error. How do I know? So I can query out by the package name. Okay, so package in here. So let me zoom out a little bit so we will be able to see. Okay. All right. So let me do once again. So let me explain once again what I have done. So within the application, I created a game and I am trying to show it in here. And once I'm trying to show it in here, okay, it is not showing in here. That's weird. And I have done everything as it's expected, but I couldn't get the image previewing. Okay, but to further debug, okay, to further debug, I will go to the logcat and I will filter it by the package of the application. So you guys can see the package in here, io_hrunbigger.buyer, and I will look for some clues in here whether I can get something. There in here, you will see something regarding this. There are some warn, especially errors. Okay, especially errors. So it says through uncode throwable, Java security exception, permission denied, missing internet permission. Okay, now we have an error. Now we have an error that we can work with. Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, now you guys know we were expecting something to show, but it is not showing. Then where we can find the error? Clearly, we can rely on logcat for some errors or some issues that is happening within the application. Luckily, logcat found an error. It is saying permission denied, missing internet permission. Okay, so we got to a point where, okay, there we are trying to show the image, but it is not showing because we get an error. Okay, so this is kind of the process that I find myself to find a solution to a problem. Okay, this is not the only way, but most of the time, if you are running into a issue like this, if you follow these steps, okay, the steps that I have found, you will be able to narrow down the place where it is saying, okay, this is the error. And at least we got some point where it is internet permission error. Okay, if you get that, if you go to that point, you know, okay, this is something related to permission. Okay, so this is the point that I want to come. Okay, this is something intentional. So I know for sure this will be an issue. Then I will show you how we can get this error resolved by introducing another concept. Okay. All right. So we got the error. Okay, we got the error where it is saying the permission denied. Permission denied. So this is a permission issue. Okay, so let me explain another concept why this is not happening. So if you guys have seen in Android applications, sometimes when you want to perform a task, it is asking for your permission. For example, for the first time, if you are opening your camera application, it is asking the Android system is asking, hey, the camera application want to use your camera, the hardware camera, would you like to give the permission? Okay, you will say, okay, I will allow it, and that kind of thing. And some application is asking, okay, I need to know your location in order to interact. Do you give permission to use the phone's location? Okay, so that's kind of the issue that's kind of thing. It's available for Android and iOS most of the time. So we need to ask the user for certain permission to interact with the device hardware capabilities. Why this is happening? The main reason is the user is aware of what are the things that this application is using. For example, I'm not sure whether you guys have heard this term. There were like several applications which are not like legit application. We call these things spywares or malwares. The application functionality was just to have a flasher to turn on and off a flasher. Okay, the functionality is just a flasher, so it is doing what it says. When there is a red button on the middle, if you tap on that, the flasher will come up. If you tap it again, the flasher will turn off. Really simple, right? But if you look at the if you most of the time people do not read the permissions, they just allow it anyhow. But if you look at the application permissions, it is accessing to our internet, it is accessing to our contacts, it is accessing to our disk. Okay, that means the storage. Most of the crucial things, most of it is accessing our location. Okay, someone might just say, okay, the flash I need location, I will allow it, and it goes. But at the end, what we have found is the application, the flash application actually is a spyware. So by unknowingly user gave permission to all, anyone who gave their permission to that application, they were able to take all the information within that smartphone and send it somewhere else. But functionality says it's a flashlight. Okay, but a malicious software person or the application developer thought, okay, I can steal some data rather than monetizing my application. So what they did was they took that slight of chance, and by people's mistake, they were able to get information from the smartphone or from that application. So that is a huge security vulnerability. That is something that we need to aware of. As a user, we should be aware. Okay, when we are installing an app, make sure read the terms and conditions of that. Okay, that is first thing. What kind of data they are collecting, what kind of data we are providing, what sort of things that we are giving them, the permissions, whether they are tracking us. That kind of information is crucial when you are working on such applications. So make sure you guys get a good idea on what we are doing. As a developer, you should always say, we need this permission. Okay, we need this permission in order to work. Okay, that kind of prompt should be shown. Normally, when we are installing the Android application, the Play Store or the Google Play Store, they normally shows, okay, this application require these permissions. If you think this is worth enough, just give them the permission. Okay, and even after that, after installing and running, runtime permissions are asked. Okay, those are not all the permissions, but most crucial ones like camera, location, storage, this kind of things are promptly asked from the user whether you want to use. If you want to use this application, we might need certain functionalities. Please allow them. So once they have allowed, we will use that. If they deny for some reason, okay, they won't. Let's assume that our application is camera application, which we take camera and it is enhanced. So the camera permission is, of course, we need, right? Without taking a camera photo, we can't expect to enhance. So in a case where user decline the camera permission, then we have to politely say, okay, I know you have denied it. I mean, not in the exact words, but I know you have denied it, but in order to work with our application, we need the camera permission. Unless you give the camera permission, we won't be able to function. Okay, we have to convey that idea in a good way. So user will be prompt again to give the camera permission, or they can leave the application. Or sometimes that certain feature might be disabled. Okay, so Android permissions play a huge role. Okay, you should ask for the correct permission, and you should prompt these things correctly. So in here, what you can see within the logcat, that what we have seen is we are getting an error saying the permission denied internet. Okay, the reason is right now I am using the glide image to load an image from internet. This is the web address. Okay, I'm trying to load this image from internet, but the problem is uh, within our application we haven't specified. Okay, in order to work within this application, we need to have internet permission. Okay, so this application requires internet to access some data. So we need to say, okay, this app will be using internet. Okay, if the user only permits internet usage, this application will work. Okay, so we need to specifically say, in order to run this application, we need internet permission. Okay, so we need to specify within the application, we need internet permission in order to work. Okay, so where do we gonna define that permission? Simply in the Android manifest file. Okay, you guys can remember the Android manifest file. Within this Android manifest file, we will be defining all the permissions that we need. Right now, the permission that we need is internet. So within the manifest file, we will have a, a, a tag saying users permissions. Okay, user permissions. And it is going to ask the name of the permission. Since we are interested in internet, so we need to say android.permission.internet. Okay, this is the permission that we need in order to work within the application. Okay, so if we did not define this permission within the manifest, then Android system, this is an app, right? We are developing an application called Meridio won't be able to use Android permission system, Android internet thing. So our application is running on a sandbox. Okay, it is not running on the whole Android system. It is running on a small sandbox. So within that sandbox, we need to access system capabilities such as internet, camera, whatever. So we need to hint Android operating system, hey, within our application, we'll be using internet in order to operate. Okay, we need internet permission, otherwise it won't work. As you guys can see, it did not work as expected because we did not have internet permission. Okay, so now if I go in here and I try to close this, let me try to open the component once again, see whether it is redirecting. I think it is not showing as expected. Okay, because this preview sometimes it's not working as expected. Maybe we need to build and refresh. Okay, let's see whether it is gonna help. Yep, still the glide image is not showing. Let's try to run it in the emulator and see still is that an issue. Okay, right now, yes, there are no issues. Let me check the logcat. Okay, seems to be the logcat. Logcat has no issues as well. Okay, seems to be the okay. Now I think after a few seconds, we were able to get the image. Thing internet is playing with us. Okay, so I was able to get the image, but seems to be it is a little bit huge and larger than I expected. So let me try to relaunch in here. Maybe the internet issue is pacing down in here as well. But you guys can see the image came after a few seconds, right? So the issue with the permission seems to be resolved. Sorry. Okay. So it seems to be it is working in here. All right. The emulator. Let's see the logcat in here. I'll stop this and clear this one as well. Let me clear and build. Still, whether we can get something. No. I think the preview is not showing it for some reason, but at least we got it working in the emulator. Sometimes these libraries might have some issues. Okay, the preview is not like something that we can expect always to be working. But anyhow, we got the image that we need. Okay, but it is not in the not in the what we call the expected dimension or something like that. Okay, so we can do sizing with the image. Okay, so we can we can change the size of this image. There will be some documentation. Let me check how we can change the size with this. Uh, 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 uh. Okay, so we can set size in here. Let's see whether we have that option. Modifier. Let me check. Size. Hmm. I think there should be an option. Just give me a second. I'm finding. The documentation gives thing. Uh, uh, uh. There's always sizing whenever possible. Okay, let's create another view and put that in. Live image. Okay, I think I got an answer. Let me try. Uh, Not working. Let me double check. Probably I need to put it in something like a box or something. Let me try. We have the modifier, what we call width. Let me say 100.dp. Okay, let me relaunch. Okay, that works. So you guys can see that I have given a modifier with the so the glide image that I am seeing in here, the model, the modifier, and the modifier with the width of 100 dps. Okay, with the 100 dps, you guys can see it is showing as expected. All right. So this is like the things that we can do. Even I can say like padding if you like, 8 .dp, and try to resume. Okay, yeah, it's kind of getting good. Okay, but I leave up to you guys to do the nice editing sort of things. Right now, I'm just not gonna be that much super into the UI. Just I want to show you how one single column should look like. Uh, okay, so let me stop this and try to let me check whether the preview is working. Game row. Let me go to the preview as well. But seems to be it is. Okay, it's showing something now. Let me zoom in. Yeah, it's still not loading the image as expected. Might be due to the library issues. Sometimes these things can happen. Okay, at least now it is showing something that is good. Okay, so you guys can see that like certain limitations are there in here, but we will just ignore that for the moment. All right, up until this point, you guys have any questions? We have composed one single row. We haven't even touched the group section. Any questions? How do we create that, and how we added the third-party dependency, how we define the permissions, all those things. Any questions up until this? Remember, these things are like real super important. I am doing most of these things in purpose. Like I will fail, I will um, let it fail, and by going in that part, you guys get more information. Okay, anything that I need to worry? Modi dot maybe 8 pp. Okay, hopes not. So even in here, we can if this is not like super helpful, there are like documentation process where you can have a placeholder. Okay, if you think, okay, if the image is not loading, it is not like giving me all the things. There are like things we can do for placeholders. Okay, and in that scenario we can have some application application, like within the preview, we can see how it is doing. Maybe we can try that on as well. So there is an option called loading. Loading. Okay, loading. We have to give a placeholder. Placeholder. Okay, within the placeholder, I can give a drawable dot layout. So I need to import R in this scenario. Make sure I'm importing the correct R. Yes, that is correct. And I might need to give IC launcher background. Yeah, so something like this, okay, would help you guys to get the idea behind it. Okay, so if it is not loading, maybe we can have a loading image that would like show in default, and once the loading is done, it will go with the original image. Okay, so I can even define 8, I would say 100.dt. Okay, so we know that for sure when we run this, it will show an image, but meantime, we will be just seeing something like this. Okay, it's not the greatest UI all of time, but you get the idea. Okay, few more things to go. So we have put a placeholder so that we don't get we can get a rough idea on this. Okay, so we were able to create one single row. That is great. Now we will hype up our game. Okay, we will create the game list. Okay, so we have the game list in here that's showing the game list, but right now we do not have any information on how the game list is gonna look like. So next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a few other things like, sorry, um, things like list views. Okay, we were originally talking about list views, then we dragged around so many different places, but we learned a lot. So we have one single row. Okay, this is going to be the one single row that we will be working with. Okay, and when we are working with when we are working with this, what we're going to do is we're going to create a game list out of this. So we will be having a list of games that we need to pass. So in this scenario, I would have to provide set of games. So I will say list of games. Okay, that means whenever we are showing a game list, we need to provide the games model, so that way it won't break. So I need some game list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, within the model, I'm going to create a dummy game list. Okay, so I can use these things. Well, games equal list of games. Okay, and I need to provide those games. First one is the game, I would say empty character. Okay, I can't have single quotation, it should be double. That's the issue. Okay. So I have a game name. I would just take the Assassin's Creed one in here, copy it. I'll not name, I will name that Assassin's Creed, something like this. Okay, so rather than giving the name object, I would have this Assassin's Creed. So I can create more games like this. So I recently played Spider-Man 2. Okay, and it's gonna be a game, and I will name it as Spider-Man 2. Let me get some dummy content in here, so I don't, show some uh, the powers, and I'm not sure what I'm getting, but I'm gonna copy paste, and I will get an image same way that I did last time, and I will copy image address, and there you go. So I have, not sure whether that is copy image address. Okay, there you go. So I have Spider-Man 2 and Assassin's Creed. So I have created a variable called games, and it's a list of games which contain Assassin's Creed and Spider-Man. Okay, so these are the two. So whenever I want, I will say games. Okay, so it is referring to the variable that I have created here. But remember, in a production level application, this would be coming from database and all. So right now, I'm just giving some hard-coded values in here just to make this works. So even in here, rather than putting one single game, I can simply say uh, Assassin's Creed or something like that. It is referring to this game right around here. Okay, so we can have these values hard coded um, within the application if we want. So these are, like, as I mentioned, demonstration purpose, but in real world application, you would need to get these values from a REST API, from a database. Right now, I'm just curious how we can implement these in this model. Okay. All right. So game list is expecting a list of games. You guys can see that I have provided a list of games. That list of games is coming from a hard-coded value that I have found in list. Okay, let's go to the game list. So I would move this game list to the component section, so it would make more sense. Okay, so in game, we have a game row and we have a game list right now. And if I try to preview this, there is nothing in here. Okay, I will try to refresh and you can see literally there is nothing. So the next component or the next composable that I'm going to be using is something called uh, lazy columns. Okay, lazy columns is like, as it's mentioned, it is gonna show us content that we're gonna be showing in here. So this is something coming from Android itself. It is called the lazy column. Okay, so it asks for the content. Okay, we can give the content in here, or I can give the content something like this. Okay, so we will I'll do some modifications first. Modifier, I will make it fill the width, so I can say modifier dot fill max width. That means this lazy column will utilize the maximum width, and we can say we can have like paddings and all. Right now I'm just interested in putting all the content in here. Okay, so within this content, what is the thing that we're gonna do? So it it has an attribute called item. Okay, within an item I can give something like text. Okay, so if I put a text in here, and I text, and if I put text Randika in here, you guys can see it is showing one single item in here. Okay, one single row. But most of the time, this is not the case. We need to have like um, we need to provide all the items in this scenario. So what we need to do is we need to provide something called items. Okay, so um, the intention is to provide multiple items in here. Okay, so in this scenario, I would use something called items. Okay, so the items is expecting what are the things that we gonna be um, iterating, or what is the iterator value. So this is like a list view. In list view, you have more than one item. So we need to make sure what is the list item that we're going to be showing it. So we have something like that. It is called games. Okay. So it is called games that we have implemented. Okay. The count, I think, size. Okay. And what is the item that we're going to be using is going to be called games. And let me game. Okay, and within the game, I would say game row, and game is going to be game that I select. Say this again. Okay, give me a second. Items. At the count of items, yes. This item. Okay, size, I think. This basic column. The int add items. Give me a second, guys. I think I got stuck in here. Items. Okay, need to be games. And within this function, I will get a game. And game row is expecting game. Okay, it's something must have gone wrong. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is now I have a component called game list, right? I have something called game list. So I have this lazy column, okay, lazy column composable, and I will make it, let me remove the preview for this second. So I have a modifier, and the modifier will simply say, okay, it will fill the maximum width, okay. Next thing within the lazy column, we need to provide a list of items. Okay, what are the items that we're gonna be iterating? So in here, I am gonna be iterating on this games, the games that I have provided for this game list. Okay, so I am gonna be iterating over that, and one single item in that is gonna be called game. Okay, look at the names correctly. So all the items that I'm going to be iterating is going to be these games list, and one single item I'm going to call it as a game. And you guys know that when we are iterating, a single row is represented by game row. Okay, but game row requires a game which is one single item that is given by this items list. So this is G. You can name it G and make it G as well. If you haven't given anything in here, something like this, it will be called it or it by default. Okay, so you can name this, or you can without naming. If you never named it, it will be by default it or it. So game row will be it. Okay, you can name it something like this game, and you have to give it the name after you have done. So make for your preference, I would go something like the default name, or you can just have it like it. Okay, so once we have done that, yes, we can take a closer look at the preview. Let me try to grab this. Yes, you guys can see within the preview, I have Assassin's Creed Mirage and Spider-Man 2. Let me add another game to the list. Copy this. I would name these as, what do you call? What do I have recently? Shadow Gambit. Okay, I'm not sure that you guys have played it, but it's a nice game. Shadow Gambit. Check whether I have that image. I think I have that. Let me copy an image address in here. Put it in here. And I'm just going to go with the default information. Okay. I'll just give brief discussion. Okay, don't think about these things. Okay. All right, now I have Shadow Gambit. I need to add it to the list, otherwise it is going to be like simple one. And if I go to game list again, you guys can see it is showing me the preview as it should. And if I remove the preview view and try to redeploy this in the emulator itself, the emulator itself, it is showing one single game. That's because in the main activity, if I go to the main activity, right now it is showing game row, one single row. So what I need to show is game list. Okay, when I'm showing the game list, I need to show I need to give the list of games. You guys can remember, I have hard-coded some of the games, and if I resume that with the games that I have provided, you guys can see it is loading. While loading, the default image is showing, But I think once the image is completely loaded, you will get the loaded image. Okay, so we have a uh, list of items that we'll be showing, and these list of items will be shown in here as we have put the hard coded value here. Okay, I can even increase these by simply copy paste. Okay, I don't know, I have just simply copy paste it, and if I reload it again, of course it's gonna repeat. Okay, you guys can see it is showing me a list of things. Okay, it's not the most beautiful UI in the world, but you get the job done. Okay, all right. So uh, we were able to get these things done by using this list view and lazy column. Okay, um, and remember mm, there is this we could have used columns, right? We could have just used the simple column layout, which will do the same thing, right? But in by using lazy columns, it add more things to our application under the hood. Okay, so if you put a column and try to show these things, what will happen is, yes, it will show everything as expected. But when you're using lazy columns, the advantage is that it is showing it is rendering out the UIs that you currently see. Okay, so why if I go to the top, you guys can see that it is showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 items. Okay, but altogether it might be like 12 or 13, 12 or 15 items. But the other items, like after the 9, these things are not rendered unless we see it. Okay, so it is memory optimized, so only the things that we need is showing in here. Other things are not shown uh, when we are looking at certain things. So if we have 15 items, only 9 is shown, the only 9 is rendered out. Okay, if you scroll down, it will then it will render the remaining things. Okay, say if think this in like uh, in a version like 100. Okay, we have 100 items. Okay, so rather than rendering out all the items at once, what we can do is we can simply use list columns, and if it is only showing 10 items, all the 90 items will be in idle. They won't use the resources as we need. But if we are using like column, it will render all the things out, no matter whether they are visible or not. Okay, so take a close look at lazy columns and see the usage of it. All right. Okay, so any questions up until this, guys? We have like introduced a few things in here. Any question that I need to clarify? Okay, so currently when we are working with the Android application, um, we are showing these images or these resources in like very few lines of code. But believe me, when we are starting coding with Android, it was like getting an image from internet was a hectic task. Okay, now you guys have all the libraries. The lazy loading is done without much of hassle. Okay, those things are automatically done for you guys. So it's going to be really easy, really fun moving forward. Of course, uh, when the application is growing up and the application platforms goes up, we will get a lot of information, and we will get a lot of um, we will get a lot of these things done easily, right? So believe me when I say it was like a huge deal when we are looking at like 10 years back. Having such a UI is requiring tremendous amount of things. We have things like adapters, we need lazy loaders, we need XML layouts, which is super um, super exhausting. Right now, all you guys need to do is design a row, design a list, and make it work. Okay, so it's gonna be since these things have evolved so much, and moving forward, you will guys find yourself um, developing Android or iOS application to be fairly simple. Okay, so practice these things up. Remember the things that I have told, especially with the manifest, the permission, defining a single row, defining third-party dependency, and so on and so forth. Okay. Next time we would be looking at HTTP calls. Okay. Right now, what we have done is we have hard-coded everything in here. The model has like few games that I have hard-coded, but unless this is like um, a really good thing, I don't think anyone would hard code these things. At least we would need some other way to get data from internet. We will work on that perspective on later on. Okay, right now, make sure you guys follow these things up. Everything is like done by yourself. Try to mimic the things if you do not get these things, but it's okay. Take your time, do these things. Okay, even sometimes for me, even some things does not make sense. Okay, that is totally okay. But for you guys, make sure follow along everything that we do and try things as you like. Okay, you guys also do things on your own. Try to get something done, so you guys will feel happy about it, what's going on and everything. Okay, any questions from these guys? Anything that I need to clarify? Okay, so as like a practice session, um, create a list view of all of your batchmate, at least not all, like 10 or 15 people. Get their profile picture or picture, something like that, their name, their index number, and their Facebook link or WhatsApp link or phone number, what's this kind of database. Okay, not all the things, at least like try to get 10 people within your batch, put it in a list view and see how far you can go. Okay, all right, let me stop sharing. Okay, let me stop recording.